Hi there. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet podcast for women who wonder. Frankly, as we go through life, I'm sure we wonder about a great deal. First as little kids, then as adolescents, then as young women, then as transitional women. What are we calling ourselves these days? And then you get to this point in life, or my point in life, when you're postmenopausal and wondering what's next. Wondering if the parade already passed you by. Join me, Wonder Wendy. I'm going to be your host as we talk about some of these unique challenges that face women today in a new millennium, going through menopause and trying to live a rich, full life. There might even be a few men and younger women that want to listen in too. That's okay. But there's a roller coaster and we're all on it. And I'm going to be your guide to help you figure out when you should close your eyes, when you should hang on, and maybe we'll explore some ideas for what works for you if it doesn't work for me, or vice versa. So join the conversation, pick up your favorite beverage, and we'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet. The other day I had lunch with a friend, and she is planning a trip next month to go to the Olympics in Italy. Wow, I'm kind of low-key jealous, but maybe you are too. We excitedly discussed what to wear, how to cope with the cold, what sights to see when visiting Milan, and maybe most importantly, how not to look like an American. Not because there's anything wrong with being an American, but because travel is about curiosity. And it's about noticing where you are instead of leading with who you are. And maybe that's something we learn with age. Not how to be less ourselves, but how to move through the world with a little more awareness and a little less noise. And that's one of the great things about planning and having experiences. It gives you more to talk about. A great conversation with a friend. She's excited. I'm excited for her. And maybe I want to be in her suitcase, but oh well, that's another conversation. Lunch went on for hours as we chatted about life, love, the universe, the usual stuff. And over way too many glasses of iced tea. I may still be a little bit jittery. Detoxing now with my giant filled Stanley here. And by the way, as we sit down to talk today, I hope you will have your beverage handy. Coffee, tea, water, whatever it is you're sipping. Every conversation is a little more congenial when we both have a beverage. Doesn't matter if it's iced or hot, caffeinated or not, potent or water. It's the communion of sharing that really matters. Back to my story. After lunch, we wandered through Nordstrom's on our way back to the parking lot from the cafe. We were reflecting on all the fashions we were looking at. I think I saw a skirt that I wore in 1984. Yeah, I've now reached that age where most of the fashions are either, what is that? Or that's come back around again. It's kind of scary to have that realization. If you're listening, you probably have had that same experience. Anyway, just wandering through the store, sitting in the cafe, so much to talk about, so many thoughts. Aren't those the best friendships? That shared curiosity creates intimate connections. Now, as we entered the parking garage, it came up that this would be her first intercontinental flight. I was taken aback. I was actually surprised to hear it. Turns out you don't have to travel the world to be worldly. She's never been to Europe before. Our eyes met. And I could see genuine fear when she said, I'm a little scared. Now, y'all know I fly regularly, but honestly, I still feel a little apprehension every time I buckle into that seat. And no, it's not just the fear that a screaming child may be seated near me or kicking me in the back. But every time I get into my seat on an airplane, I send out a series of texts to my children, to a few friends, and they simply read, I've boarded my flight to fill in the blank, and I love you. Not to be maudlin, but that's my way of making sure that they know I love them, even if I die on this flight. So yes, I understand why she's a little bit scared. And here's the thing about those pre-flight messages. By sending them, I'm acknowledging there is the possibility, however small, for the worst to happen. I'm not denying reality, but I'm also leaning hard into something else. I'm choosing the message I leave behind. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing connections. I'm choosing to tell the universe and the people I care about, you matter to me. What messages are you sending with others by how you live? I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of international commercial flights every single day. And statistically, flying is incredibly safe. But we don't remember the safe flights. We remember the all too rare aircraft disasters. If you're my age, you saw a few of the movies. The great disaster movies of the 70s. Oh, weren't they epic? Anyway, they haunt us. And the truth is, I can't tell her that nothing bad is going to happen. I don't have that power. All I could say was, I get it. What I've learned in this crazy life is that you can only control a few things. And a guaranteed positive outcome is not one of them. I cringe when I hear someone say, nothing bad will happen, like somehow they have control over outcomes. I mean, that's just not how life works. When you tell someone, especially your children, that it's going to be fine, you are setting yourself and them up to be betrayed when things go wrong. Far better to help them understand that things don't always go the way we expect, but you will always care. It's really uncomfortable to admit that lack of control. But guess what? It's also freeing. And sometimes, especially in the moments of fear, it's more honest and loving to acknowledge the fear. Don't even try to fix it. You can reassure, but don't say it's not necessarily going to happen. Don't minimalize. Just witness. Just say, I see you. I'm with you. You know, at midlife, we've seen death. We've seen loss. We now know, in a way that we didn't when we were younger, that no matter what happens, we will eventually die. That could be tomorrow, or it could be in 50 years. With modern medicine, who knows? We were joking that this is the 250th anniversary of the United States. I remember the bicentennial 50 years ago, all the celebrations, the parades. It was a big deal. And somebody made the comment that with modern science the way it is, I might actually see the next celebration of 300 years in 50 years. And I said, I would be 110 years old. Oh my gosh, maybe that's possible. But maybe it won't happen because there's always something that goes wrong. I've had friends my age pass in the last year. Cancer's a bitch. Anyway, I do remember being asked to make an in memoriam board for a high school reunion a few years back. I think it was the 30th reunion. And that realization that so many class members were no longer with us. And we really weren't that big a class. That was a lot to take in. And then the realization set in that life is always too short. Like a great day you wish would never end. There's always more to do. So back to my friend who's getting ready to take her first transcontinental flight to Italy for the Olympics. I told her that I realized many years ago that if a bus has my name on it, then it's my time. It's actually freeing to face death and survive. I know that may sound strange to you, but I've heard others say the same thing. Until that fatal blow comes, whatever it might be, I am going to live my life fully. I can't live in fear of death. As I've said before, and will probably say again, plan to live. You are going to die whether you plan for it or not, so plan to live. Because living is not guaranteed unless you actually engage. Now there's a midlife shift, fear versus awareness. Fear changes when it's informed by lived experiences. I can vividly recall when my daughter Becca was an infant. She's 30 now, so this was a few years back. My husband hit a patch of black ice while driving around a curve in rural New York State. The road turned, the car did not. It careened towards the guardrail. In those seconds that followed, I think I lived an hour, first thinking of all that could go wrong. You know, it's amazing how fast the mind travels when things spin out of control. You know, we've all seen cars go through guardrails on movies and in TV. At best, they skid for a while. At worst, they flip, explode, or careen into a river. And I was dang sure there was a river at the bottom of that embankment. During that time, I was trying to figure out whether this was the end. And I realized that this was the moment that I had to choose panic or purpose. I focused on what to do when the car broke through the rail and rolled down the hill toward that river that I was so certain was there. I knew instantly that the second that car stopped moving, I would unbuckle myself, crawl into the back seat, and extract my daughter from her car seat to get her to safety. My husband would be on his own until I knew she was safe. Mercifully, the guardrail stopped the car. Time resumed its normal pace after the car spun back onto the road, and he pulled over to assess the damage to the bump. Miraculously, that was the only damage. After all that fear, all that panic, we had a banged up front bumper. Well, and a lot of shaken nerves. Now that I live in Arizona, winter driving isn't something I face very often, but I still carry the muscle memory of that fear. I did see my life pass before my eyes, like they say in the movies. I learned that I need to plan to live. In moments like that, what matters becomes unmistakably clear. Fear didn't make me freeze. It made me decisive. It sharpened my priorities down to one singular truth. Protect what matters most. That's the difference between denial of death and respect for reality. That moment on the road helped me understand something my father always knew. I'll back up a little bit. My father was a farm boy, born in the 1920s and raised in an environment where the animals they raised and cared for also provided sustenance for the family, where hunting often shored up their diets when times were lean, literally and figuratively, during the Depression. The circle of life, birth, death are part of farm life. They were part of the cycle. Some days they were part of the same day. My father often lamented how city life deprived modern humans of understanding that cycle, how disconnected we've become from the truth that is life, that it's finite, fragile, and therefore precious. Pretending nothing bad can happen doesn't make us any safer. It actually shrinks our lives. It robs us of the awareness of life is precious. Let me repeat that because I think I kind of flubbed that sentence. It robs us of the awareness that life is precious. Because it's the fragility of life, the realization that we only get one, that makes it worthy of celebrating. What is it they say? Live like today is your last day, but plan like you're going to live forever. So maybe I should be planning for that tricentennial of the United States. Wow, that sounds weird. Anyway, somehow we accidentally plan for death. Most of us don't plan for death consciously. And it's not like, okay, I think I want. No, it's not like that. We do it quietly, incrementally. We play small until someday. I want to pause here for a moment and have you ask yourself, what is your someday? What are you postponing until conditions are perfect, until you feel braver, until life calms down? Like that's going to happen. Go ahead, take the class, take the trip, make the phone call. What's on your list of things to do later? When? If? Listen to the answers that are coming into your mind. Don't judge them. How many times have we heard the story of the person who lived a small life, saving everything for someday, only to die rich and alone? And I'm not just talking about the Ebenezer Scrooges of the world. It's not just money. It's time. You can't reclaim your children's childhood when you finally have time. Same goes for your grandchildren, your partner, any of the people in your life. We also plan for death when we spend more energy listing everything that could go wrong than imagining what could go right. Listen to that scales. Spend more time on what can go right than what could go wrong. When we say no because something bad might happen, we are making a choice that postponing is easier than being brave. Okay, so maybe what's in front of you is scary. But so was the first day of kindergarten. To the best of my knowledge, no one was ever killed by the first day of kindergarten, but they may have thought they would. Most of us survive it. And then there was the first day of middle school and the first day of high school and the first day on your job. Do I really need to go on? I think you know exactly what you're thinking about. Well, you know exactly what you're thinking about. In recent episodes, we've talked about the danger of waiting for certainty to begin and why that is such a bad idea. Certainty is a myth we cling to because it feels safer than action. Yeah, it's great to fake it till you make it, but that's not certainty. It's okay once in a while. Reframe uncertainty as a part of living and get comfortable with it. Here's the truth. We'll spend hours, days, so much time figuring out what could go wrong and refuse to plan a life. Let's create a vision of a plan to live. Now, this is where bucket listers lean in, look fear in the eye, and say, you can warn me, but you can't decide for me. Planning to live looks like saying yes before you feel ready. And I know that can sound reckless at first, and I'm not talking about abandoning discernment. I'm talking about not waiting until fear gives you permission. What's the worst thing that could happen? You could die. Well, there you go. That's planning for death instead of living. Planning to live looks like booking the trip, making the call, wearing the thing. Make every day an occasion, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. One time I was presented with a single rosebud in a vase after speaking at a conference. 2 days later, I was going home and I wanted to keep that rose, so I carried it onto the plane. This was before liquids were banned, so it was a couple of years back. Someone in the security line looked at me and said, "That rose makes you look like someone special." I smiled and said, "I am." Wearing that special piece of jewelry or clothing that makes you shine in the same way carrying that rose did for me. Well, people are drawn to that glow, not because you're showing off, but because you're showing up fully, authentically, unapologetically. And that's what the bucket list life is about, living fully, glowing from the inside, allowing yourself to attract positive energy by refusing to shrink. And here's the part I'm still coming to grips with. Planning to live often means going anyway, with fear riding shotgun. Fear is often just your subconscious inserting caution. Sometimes it's trying to keep you safe, and we should listen. But fear doesn't get to drive. That is your prerogative. That doesn't mean you ignore it. Fear is information. It taps you on the shoulder and says, pay attention. But it doesn't get to make the decision for you. That part is all your heart. Now be aware, but don't be afraid of everything that's different. When I toured Europe for the first time with my parents, my father wouldn't eat anything in Germany that had the word sour in it because he hated sauerkraut. When I lived in Germany many years later, I discovered sauerbraten, which is simply a beef with a cream sauce, which is delightful, by the way. And I've also learned to like sauerkraut, so I don't always need to take my dad's advice. He was afraid of something that sounded different. He didn't like sauerkraut, so he would eat nothing with the word sour in it. Big mistake. So let curiosity help you decide what's a learning opportunity and what's an actual danger. Just like when you travel, you don't pretend nothing could go wrong. You don't try to control every outcome. You move through the world with curiosity, awareness, and yes, with intention. Life asks for the same thing. And if you're wondering what that looks like, not in theory, but in real life, I want to offer you something simple for the coming week. Not a checklist, not a challenge, just a gentle experiment. Let's keep this easy, people. I'm not asking you to overhaul your life or book a flight to Italy, although if you do, please send pictures. I'm inviting you to notice. Maybe it's one small moment of curiosity. You pause instead of rushing. How about asking a question instead of making an assumption? Let yourself wonder why something caught your attention. Or maybe it's a small yes, not a dramatic yes, just a quiet. Saying yes to a coffee with friends or a friend. Yes to wearing the thing. Yes to taking the longer way home because it feels different and it breaks up the routine. You'll see something new and maybe that'll spark something in your brain. Maybe it's one intentional choice, one moment where you realize you do have agency over how you show up, how you respond, how you spend this slice of time. Or maybe it's simply one act of presence. You put the phone down. You take a breath. You actually arrive in the moment you're already in. That's it. No pressure, no performance, just paying attention to where you're living instead of waiting for later. Plan to live. Whether you plan for it or not, death will take care of itself. Living, though, that part is up to you. So until then, I'll see you out there living. Stay hydrated, stay rested. And until next week, as always, look for wonder in every day. Keep building your wonderful bucket list life, a life full of wonder, a wonder-full life. If this episode made you think of someone, well, that's your cue to reach out to them. Share this episode with them. It's how we build connection, and it's how this little community continues to grow. Oh, and maybe share a beverage too. Until next week, I'm Wonder Wendy, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Like what you heard here today? Then we should be friends. I suggest you join my Facebook group. It's a good way to connect. We can have a conversation. Ask me questions, whatever you want to do. It is called the Wonderful Bucket List Life. That's wonder-full bucket list life. Be a bucket lister and join me on this adventure. Or you can go to my webpage, which is Wonder Wendy and Friends. Join the mailing list, learn about the book I wrote, adventures that are coming up in the future, and other podcasts. I look forward to talking to you soon, and stay hydrated. Have a great day.